right. So everyone out there listening today, we have Ashley here with us. Ashley, why don't you tell us a little bit about you? Who is Ashley?
Hi, so I'm Ashley, like she just said, and I am a mom of two, a stepmom of two. I am a musician and a music therapist. I actually play several instruments. I play guitar, piano, mandolin, ukulele. I also play the Celtic lever harp, and I am classically trained in voice. And I love nature. I love outdoors and hiking. And I actually am really into like sourdough baking right now. That's been like a very big thing this time of year as it gets colder.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, and I'm
Wow.
Christian too. So that's very important as well.
Amazing. Wow. I don't even know some of those instruments. Did you know what they were, Allie? So wait, what's the Celtic one?
So do you know what a like a
But
traditional harp looks like in a string orchestra? They're huge, like
Oh,
the big.
yeah. Yep.
So the lever harps are kind of like that, but they're smaller.
Okay.
Don't have pedals on them. Instead of there being like pedals on the bottom that you have to pedal for certain notes, there's little like levers at the top that you
Okay.
flip for certain pitches.
Wow.
Yeah.
So how old were you when you started like learning these instruments?
So I've always been a lover of music from the time I was little. Like my mom said, my favorite toy when I was a baby was like this little Cookie Monster piano, and I would play it, and then like the little eyes would spin on it. But I started taking voice lessons. I want to say I was in middle school, and I started playing actually my first instrument, which I didn't mention because I don't really play it anymore because I just have kind of lost touch with it, was the viola. So I started playing that in orchestra at school in fourth grade.
Oh, wow.
From there, I was really interested in music. I knew I wanted to go to school for music. So by the time high school rolled around, I was taking voice and piano, private viola lessons at one point, and involved in musicals and like choirs and stuff like that through school. So
Wow.
now, was your parents musical at all, or anybody else in your family, or just you?
my mom actually has a really nice singing voice, and so do my grandparents on that side. My dad really is not musical. so, but, but yeah, there's definitely a love of music that comes from that side of the family.
Yeah, I always wondered because I was telling Megan one time I've always wanted to be musical, but like I'm just not, and no one in my family is. So I'm like, do you have to get it passed down, or can you just like, you
No.
know, be born with that gift?
I
But I
think
so wish I had that.
that's a good question. I think definitely if you're born with that gift, it comes easier. But I really think that anybody can be musical, especially if you find an instrument you're really interested in and you're willing to work at it.
Yeah, I think it's the practice that you have to put in it. I mean, it's just like anything, right? Like any sport
Yep.
or, some people are naturally talented at it and don't have to work as hard, but they still have to practice. And then other
Yeah.
kids have to work harder.
Yeah,
We talked about this because I was in a band and you were like, Allie, you're like, is anybody musical? I'm like, my mom, I guess, but not like, I don't know. But yeah, then both my brothers and we both played. Well, I didn't play an instrument, but I sang. And yeah, I don't know. Again, I think it's like what you put into it, right? Because
Mhm.
even like I tried to learn the guitar a couple years ago. Which do you teach lessons, Ashley?
I did. I'm currently not right now. But
Okay.
I teach like beginner level
Okay, well,
lessons.
I'm a beginner for sure. But I have not found a lesson or a place to take lessons here yet. I really haven't looked very hard, to be honest. But I started playing the guitar in 2021, and I really liked it. And I was actually practicing a good amount considering like how busy I am. And then we moved, and I just haven't. It's right here on my wall, but it hasn't been touched in a really long time. So yeah, we'll have to talk about it. But anyway, back to you. So what do you do? So did you end up going to college and stuff for music? And what did your profession become?
Yeah, so when I was in high school, when things started getting serious and I really started thinking about going to school, I knew I wanted to go to school for music, but I'm like, I don't know that I really want to go to school for performance because it's really hard to make it and break it in that kind of field. Like you need to be the best of the best.
Mm.
I also didn't know if I wanted to pursue music ed because like I like kids and I like working with kids in the school setting and stuff like that, but I don't know if I would want to like teach music. Um, So what actually opened my mind to music therapy, because it was something I was not aware of. I think most people aren't aware of my field, actually. It's fairly new. Um, but we had a student that had graduated like a few years before I did. He came back to the school to do a presentation about music therapy
Hmm.
and about what he was studying at college. So I was like, oh, that's really interesting. Like, I think I would really enjoy that field. And then my junior year of high school, the end of my junior year, my boyfriend at the time was in a terrible ATV accident, to the
Gosh.
point he has a severe traumatic brain injury still today he
Wow.
does. And he lost all ability to walk, all ability to talk. He was in a coma for, I think it was actually a few years,
Wow.
if I'm correct.
Yeah.
So I started my senior year of high school was going to visit him in Albany Med with his family, and in the intensive care unit in the like PICU where the kids are. I got to see a music therapist there work with the kids. And I
Oh.
was like, oh my goodness, this is what that guy that came to school was talking about. And I was like, I have to do this. Like, it was more of, instead of it just being a choice, it felt like it was almost like a calling on my life.
Mm.
This is what I'm meant to do. And I've always had a passion for helping people, especially people with disabilities. My sister has a learning disability. Like, growing up, she did, and she's really actually overcome that now. But and we also have some other folks in our family with disabilities as well. So I was always very compassionate and wanted to help people.
Yeah. That's so incredible. And that really does sound like a calling. You just gave me the chills.
Yeah.
I mean, it's so sad to hear about your ex-boyfriend. I mean, that's horrible. Um, it's crazy though that brought that view to you, while you were going through that. That's so amazing. So now you're a mom, and how have you used music therapy, for your own children and your stepchildren?
Yeah. So my daughter, or my youngest is sorry, my oldest is 3. My youngest just turned 1 back in September. And then my stepkids, there's actually a little bit of an age gap there. Our oldest is 17, and then the other one is going to be 14, I believe, this June.
Oh, wow.
So I don't see my stepkids a whole lot just because they live with their mom most of the year. We get them on the weekends and stuff.
Mhm.
Um, just because they're an hour away, it's really hard
Oh,
with school
wow.
back and forth. But they love music, and I love when they're here. Like, there's been times my oldest stepdaughter has wanted to like go down in my little music room and jam, and it's just such a nice way to connect with family and connect
Yeah.
through music that way.
Yeah.
Um, and she's had me give her some voice lessons before here when she was really interested in singing. So it's really helped me bond with them, which I love.
Yeah.
And then with my kiddos that are young here, it's really helped me with homeschooling and using a lot of music for learning and through play
Mm.
and stuff like that.
Oh, that's awesome. I mean,
Yeah.
I feel like that's such a big part of like preschool, right? Like music and connecting through music and learning through music. I feel like, do you guys ever see those signs in the library where it's like always be talking to your kids, always be reading to your kids, always be singing to your kids, and that like helps them learn words? Do you find that, Ashley, that it does help them
Yeah.
learn things a little easier than just like telling them to do something?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I mean, if you think about it, think of all the things we learn as kids that are through songs, the alphabet.
Mm.
You know, I remember even in like math class, like teachers would make songs that went to certain equations and stuff like that to get you to understand things, even like rhymey things that
Mm.
all has like different elements of music to get your brain to remember those things. And
Yeah.
it's actually, there's a lot of neuroscience that I like to geek out about too that kind of goes along with that. So the reason music is different than most other things that we engage in is because music has so many different elements. So, like, when you listen to a song, you have the lyrics, right?
Mm.
You have the emotional content associated with the lyrics.
Mhm.
You have the rhythm and the different instruments and the different tones and how loud it is and how soft it is. And, all these different elements, your brain has to break these down simultaneously. So, if you actually looked at someone in like some kind of scanning, right? If they're scanning their brain while listening to music, you would see their brain lighting up like fireworks all over the brain. because all of these components are in different spots on the brain, and they come together so simultaneously. We didn't even know our brain was doing that much work. So when you think of like, you know, how like there's a saying that you can accomplish something better when you have a team rather than just one person. So because more of the brain is working together, that's why you see people that might not be able to talk really, or like they stutter and they're able to sing beautifully. It's because so much of the brain is engaged in that processing.
Wow.
That's kind of the
That's
neuroscience.
incredible. Yeah, I love hearing about
No.
neuroscience. I think it's so interesting.
Yeah.
How does music therapy help kids with learning disabilities?
Yeah, so kind of like what I said with like the ABCs and stuff like that, it can really help to get some of those skills to stick that may be difficult for kids to remember. That's a big one. Also working on social skills, because a lot of times when I used to work in the school setting, we would go in and do a group with the class, and I normally start with a hello song. So working on greeting and saying hello to our peers and being able to tell how you're feeling. And of course, then there's all the social aspects of just like, okay, we got to take turns with this instrument and we're not going to sing over other people. And, you know, just a lot of those other skills. And then you have the physical functioning that comes with playing music as well. So if somebody has difficulty maybe crossing midline or with fine motor skills, we can give them instruments that'll help work on those things. And that's essentially what music therapy is. We basically use music as a tool to work on non-musical goals. So someone from the outside might be looking in and being like, oh, wow, they're just like playing music together and it sounds great. But really, it's about what's happening in the music. Like I might be looking at, wow, this person is really using their fine motor skills to play that piano. It's not about necessarily how it sounds.
Yeah. That's so
I
cool.
didn't realize that. That's amazing.
Yeah, that makes
So it's
sense.
kind
Because I
of
mean,
like,
the dexterity and stuff you need to play certain instruments, like it's a lot. Like I remember when I first started playing the guitar, my fingers were actually like sore and like they hurt. So yeah, I can imagine with the piano too, like the flexibility you need with your fingers and whatnot. Yeah, that's really cool. Do you still work, Ashley? Do you still have a business or do you work for someone?
So I technically still have my LLC. I'm just not doing anything with it right now because
Yeah.
I've transitioned into just being home full time with the kids.
Yeah.
So it was a very gradual transition to being home full time. At the height of COVID, I was working for a different private practice. I had been there like 7 years, probably since the time I moved home from college. Working in that environment was just, it was so stressful.
COVID, you mean?
Yes. And like, you know, we had to follow because music therapy is actually, we're an allied health profession. So I had to follow a lot of the protocols healthcare workers have to, you know, masking, wearing PPE gowns, gloves, all of that stuff.
Oh my gosh.
Just like imagine singing in a mask all day. Like you get so hot and it's uncomfortable. And I worked at the height of COVID pregnant with Peyton. And it was
Oh my
just,
God.
I was so burnt out. After having her, she changed my world. You know, when my husband and I met and I started having a relationship with his kids, I really felt the need. Okay, I need to start having a better work-home life balance because I need to be here for these kids. I need to be around. I want to be able to go to their sporting events. I want to be able to see all their stuff. But then when my daughter came along, you know, she changed my world even further. And I was like, I didn't get to see my stepkids young like this.
Yeah.
I missed out on that. So I'm like, I want to be here while she's little. So when I went back to work after my maternity leave with her, which was a very long maternity leave, I went back part-time. And then during that time, we ended up getting pregnant again. And I ended up losing that baby in miscarriage due to a rare disability called Turner syndrome. And I went through like a little depression there for a little bit. It made me question things. It made me question my faith for a little bit, especially someone who works with people with special needs. I was like, why did God not give me this kid? Like, I would have loved this kid, you know, so much. and giving them everything they needed. But it really made me realize like how precious the moments we have are.
Yeah.
And so that's when I was like, you know what? I'm just going to take a break for a while. And I took a break and it didn't work. I left that job. And then part of my heart was still missing the music and the music making with my clients because I adore my clients so much. So I ended up starting my own business. And I was like, you know what? Maybe if I kind of make my schedule on my own terms, things will be better. And because like working part-time for someone else is very different than working part-time for yourself, right? Like you can actually control what you're doing at home a little more, what your schedule looks like. So I did that and it was going great. But then I had so many people like, I want music therapy because there's not a lot of music therapists, especially up this way. Like most of the practices in this area are down near Albany. So like people, Saratoga and North, like there's not a lot of options. So I felt this like overwhelming pressure to take on all of these clients because I wanted to help. But then it got to be too much again to where I was like, okay, like I need to be doing less. This is getting overwhelming, especially now that we've decided to homeschool. It's just like a lot. So then I ended up getting pregnant with Logan. I was out for a little bit with him. And then I decided, you know what? I'm only going to go back and I'm just going to work like 2 hours a week. And that's it. But even that got to be a little bit of a challenge because we had some family going through medical stuff at one point. My husband's job has changed as well. And like his work, he can get called in at any time, especially when there is like storms and stuff that affects his job. Like anytime there's like a thunderstorm or heavy rain or a snowstorm, like all that stuff affects his job. And then he gets stuck on 17-hour shifts until things are fixed. Wow. So it was really hard trying to manage a business, constantly canceling on people. Plus with our kids being homeschooled, it's important to me that we are doing dance class. We're letting her do gymnastics if that's what she wants to do, because I want her to be able to still interact with other kids. So it just got to be, you know what? I'm feeling the push to be home. And I've been fighting it for so long. And I think part of the reason I fought it for so long is because I had this like notion in my mind that like if I wasn't practicing music therapy, I was like giving up my field, like all of the college I went for, it was just like a waste. But in reality, it's not a waste. Like it made me get my priorities in line because my kids are only little once. I can always go back to music therapy. There will always be a job out there waiting for me. And if anything, all of my work experiences have really prepared me to homeschool the kids and come up with creative ways to learn with them and, get them to grow here at home.
Yeah. I love calling it like seasons, right? The season that you're in, you kind of have to accept it for what it is, right? And use your resources and stuff that you've learned to be home if that feels right for you. And like you said, you can always go back. I mean, I just went through a season where I took a break from doing hair. I'm a hairstylist, and everyone was like, why are you giving this up? You make so much money or whatever, your clients. But it's like, I don't know. In that season, I didn't know what I needed. And I thought I needed to be home. And it was the right thing to do at that time. And now I'm back doing it. And sure, I have to rebuild. And, I have my own business like you did. So, of course, there's work that goes into that and boundaries that have to be set up. But you do have to do what's right for your family, and I think our professions are really important, but at the same time, they're always there, and it's not the number one priority. So I really appreciate what you said. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's kind of how I felt. It's just the season we're in now. Like life is ever changing, and I'm still enjoying music. Like I have friends I like play with every now and then. They get together with that we like gig together and stuff like that. Sometimes that still like fills my heart, where I want to have like that musician connection and being able to make music with my kids at home. And, Meg, the leader of our co-op, homeschool co-op, she's had me do music classes with the kids. And it's just so special to be able to share that with my daughter's community as well.
Yeah. Yeah, I love
We're in
that.
the same co-op, and Ashley, you do amazing. I look forward to it. I know Colton looks forward to it, obviously, but like I look forward to it. I'm excited for our next one next week.
Oh, that
Yeah.
sounds so fun.
It's so fun. She's wicked. And she has instruments for all the kids to play with, and it's so interactive, and they love it.
Yeah. That's so cool. I loved that when Gray was little. So my daughter's 9, so now she's learning how to play the recorder, Ashley. So that's interesting. But she actually tested really well on it. Really? I'm like, oh god.
Yes.
It's not as bad as I thought though when she practices. She keeps it at like a good tone. I can't say it's like beautiful, but it's not annoying. Yeah.
Recorder, that's definitely an interesting one. But I mean, it's really good because it teaches those basic note reading skills and all the stuff that they can apply to other things.
Yeah. Yeah, she has fun with it. She used to be in ukulele lessons before COVID, and then COVID happened and we kind of stopped, and I haven't gotten her back into it. And now she's like too busy. But I feel like learning an instrument is just such an incredible thing, and it really is such a discipline too, right? Because you do have to practice that, and I think it's a really important thing as a child to learn. It's a blessing.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And I love to still learn. Like, I didn't learn guitar until college because that's something that they teach in college when you go into music therapy. It's a requirement because not every place is going to have a piano. So you have to learn to bring your own stuff and accompany yourself. And I worked really hard at that, to learn it and do it well. And the classic or the Celtic lever harp that I play as well, I started learning that like 2 years ago. So that's been a very good adventure. So I still love to learn.
Yeah.
Now.
So there's hope for me in the guitar, you're saying?
Absolutely. Okay.
You'll have to send me some of your favorite places. I'm in Clifton Park. But yeah, I do need to get back on that. 2025. I'll do it.
The guys I play with in our like little band that we gig with, he really started working on guitar in retirement, and he's doing great now. Yeah. So it's never too late.
Okay. That's encouraging.
I know. I'm trying to teach myself piano, like on the keyboard. It's going okay. It's going decent, but I need to commit to more time. Like I'm trying to learn for sure.
Yeah.
It's fun to try to learn with the kids too. Like they obviously don't know how to play, and so us doing it together is a fun little thing to like just sit down and mess around and stuff. We use YouTube for it.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's the best idea, but that's what we've been doing.
That's how one of my teachers, he had me like slow down the song on YouTube, whatever I was trying to learn, and like you do it in like slow motion almost, then you play along with the song. I don't know if you'd recommend that, Ashley, but it actually was fun. It made it a little bit more fun as I learned, because I mean, just doing chords and like warm-ups, it gets a little bit boring. But I do think the kids love it. Like Gray loves, and I do sing, so like she loves when I would finally learn a song and be able to sing, and she really liked that. And I do think music is just therapeutic, right? It's therapeutic for me. Even when I'm practicing or when I'm singing, it does like, release tension, stress. It's like, it's lovely. It's a really good feeling. So I would love to get back into it. And I think it's so important for kids. So thank you, Ashley, for what you do. I think it's really, really cool.
I love my job. I really do. Yeah. When the times I was working, not that I am, because I'm not so much now, but I always look forward, for the most part, going to work. And I think that's such a gift, because a lot of people go to work every day and hate it.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yep. Where do you see yourself, in the future? Do you see yourself like reopening your business, or?
I definitely see me doing more, I think, as the kids get a little bigger. Yeah. And I don't know what area I'll like dabble in, like as to like what clientele I'll try to work with. Maybe I'll stay in the homeschooling community and start offering lessons at some point when they get older, or music classes or something like that as well. I'm not really sure what I want to do in regards to that. Before leaving, I kind of worked in a variety of different places, and I do like having versatility like that. It keeps me on my toes, and it's just nice to be able to go into someone's house and do something have like nice, like intimate music making with them. And then it's awesome to be able to go to a nursing home and have like 20 adults sitting around you and them all like super excited you're there and banging on instruments. And then to maybe go to like a group home where people are bedridden and I'm just going bedroom to bedroom, singing to people, helping them rest, helping them sleep. Like I really liked having that to kind of like break up my day.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah,
just
That's
I love
amazing.
that. Yeah.
I didn't realize that you had such a diverse group of people that you did that with.
Oh yeah, like I was in group homes, nursing homes, schools. I used to at my old job that I used to work with. I did a lot of public schools, St. Margaret's Center in Albany, which I don't know if you guys are familiar with that, but it's kind of along the lines. It's not necessarily hospice, but there's a lot of children there who are very medically frail. I want to say it's more palliative care there. Um, so there's so much you can do with it, honestly.
Yeah, it almost makes you be like more creative too, because it's like so diverse. You have to come up with different ways to use music with different people.
Oh yeah, and it all depends on the client's needs, their strengths, and what their interests are. You
Yeah.
know, some of my clients they love the Beatles. We'd be jamming out to the Beatles. Then
Yeah.
some of their kids wanted T Swift. So you know, I would play whatever they like. You know,
Yeah.
Now, if someone needed music therapy, how do they get a music therapist? Like, what do they do?
yeah. So if your child has an IEP in the school setting, um, music therapy is billable through the IEP. A lot of people don't
Okay.
know that because when you read like the IEP stuff, we fall under like other therapies. So a lot of people don't know that. And also the parents really have to fight for it. The problem is a lot of school districts really don't understand what we do. And they'll be like, oh, well, we have a music teacher here. Well, it's not the same thing. And we're trained to work with people with disabilities and write IEPs and all that. So
Wow,
some
that's amazing.
parents, yeah, really have to fight for if you're going to get it through school. You can also pay privately, or some places even accept insurance. If you want to like seek out like a private practice, kind of like my business or the business I used to work for. And there's also a lot of grants too. Like if your kid has like certain I want to say certain they meet like certain requirements for that grant, you can get like money through that as well to do therapy.
Okay.
Very cool.
So good
Yeah.
to know.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's so good to know. Because yeah, my daughter has a bunch of friends that have an IEP, and I guess I didn't even realize that that would be helpful. I don't know. I've never even thought of it.
yeah.
Yeah.
People just like I said don't know like speech therapy is listed on the IEP, occupational therapy, like all these other therapies, but music therapy kind of falls under the other category, so it's kind of like
Okay.
secret almost.
Yeah.
Which is wild because I feel like you're incorporating speech and OT all within your scope of what you do. So
Yeah.
it seems almost better because you're covering it all.
Well, it's nice because I can even co-treat with other professions as well. Because, like, I've co-treated in the school system with a speech therapist with kids that say speech therapy was really effective for them, but they didn't like it. It wasn't as fun. So, music adds a fun factor. And I'm kind
Right.
of a motivator to get them to speak and do the things that was like pulling teeth for the speech therapist, right? So I would kind of be the motivator, and then she could work and then fine tune those skills because that's more of her scope too.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's where we can even work together.
That's
It's
amazing.
amazing.
Yeah, I love that. Wow. Well, this is all so good, Ashley. I really appreciate you coming on. Allie, do you have any other questions?
No, I don't. You covered everything.
Yeah, I'm so
I was
inspired.
so interested. Yeah, I was so interested to know exactly what you did because I've known you for a couple years now. I knew you're a music therapist, but I wasn't 100% sure what that looked like. So I'm so glad to hear your story. It is
Really,
super inspiring.
thank you guys for having me. I'm so glad to share it and
Yeah.
just advocate for our field because I want more and more people to know about it because it is such a wonderful way to work on goals.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah. Thank you so much for what you do.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Ashley. It was so nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too. Have a good day.
You have a great day.
Bye.
Bye.